So May 1st is the date where the Atlanta Falcons have to decide on picking up AJ Terrell's fifth-year option, right? Now look, this is going to happen, right? I mean, this is a no-brainer, easiest thing. This was like Lindstrom, okay? The easiest thing that the Falcons could do, okay? The fifth-year option amount for AJ Terrell is going to be $12.344 million. Okay. So that's a pretty good amount of money. But again, there's no doubt that they're going to pick this up, and he certainly is worth all of that. Now, AJ's got 3 years in the league, right? He had an outstanding 2021 season. He was an 85.6 coverage grade that I believe was second to Jalen Ramsey. He was an 82.6 overall grade on Pro Football Focus, but he did slip down. His coverage grade was only a 57 last year. He was a 60.8, and obviously the Falcons' pass defense had all kinds of issues. I don't blame all of that on AJ Terrell, and there was obviously injuries for him and all sorts of different things. In a lot of ways, it was a lost season for AJ Terrell. But he's shown you, even when he was a rookie, that he's a really good cornerback, and he's one of those guys that you need to build around. So what does an AJ extension look like? Because I definitely think after next year that the Falcons, just like they did with Chris Lindstrom, okay, same kind of mindset. While the Falcons have money, okay, and these are the decisions that not signing a Lamar Jackson force you into making and things like that, where you have to, kind of navigate all the money around. And yes, you can always find money, but you can't find money when you have a fully guaranteed contract. It's not easy to find money unless you're going to take some of the biggest hits in the history of the league. That's what the Browns are in. They're looking at $60 million for Deshaun Watson. $60 million on the cap hit. That's what they're looking at. Go look at the numbers. So again, where is an AJ Terrell going to fit amongst some of the cornerbacks? Now, Jair Alexander was a guy that signed back up with the Green Bay Packers. He's a 25-year-old corner, right? He signed a deal that was 4 years and $84 million. All right, that's the latest contract that we've had. Now, is AJ, Terrell a $20+ million corner? Probably by the time the market resets itself, and you look at past contracts, future performance, he's probably near that kind of range. I mean, a lot of these top corners nowadays are getting that $19-20 million. Alexander's a $21 million a year player. Xavier Howard's an $18 million a year player. Denzel Ward is a $20 million a year player. Marshawn Lattimore's a $19.5 million player. Marlon Humphrey is a $19.5 million player. Tre'Davious White's almost $18 million. And Jalen Ramsey's, up on over $18 million corner. So again, when we talk about some of these contracts and things like that, it's why teams don't want to get into guaranteed money, because you can find a lot of money and pay a lot of guys, and you kick the can down the road and different manipulative things for the cap. But when you give all guaranteed money to a guy, it's tough to do that. But I think AJ Terrell is going to be a $20 million corner when all is said and done. And I know Falcons fans are probably like, how can we pay him $20 million a year? Because he's at a premium position. He's a really good player. Yes, again, last year was kind of a lost year for AJ Terrell. And look, it's obviously going to be mightily important for the success of this franchise moving forward to have the AJ Terrells. But again, what's the alternative? You don't pick up his option, or you don't sign him long term, and then you're looking for another starting corner that plays at his level. And that's the thing that Arthur Smith, Terry Fontenot, that was the first thing that they talked about when the whole Matt Ryan situation went down and all this kind of stuff. And he was looking at trading, with working out the trade for the Indianapolis Colts and all that kind of stuff, and they had their press conference, the first thing that they talked about was, we need to sign our own guys. We need to keep our own guys under contract. And they haven't been able to do that the last few years, right? Foye and guys like that, they weren't able to pay those guys what market value is. So when you look at an AJ Terrell, that's the kind of guys that you've got to keep and build around. And he's at a premier position. Is he the same as an offensive or defensive lineman? No, but he's right there into that next tier mix or whatever. If you can get a shutdown corner, and I know people are going to say, well, AJ Terrell's not a shutdown corner and all that. AJ Terrell's a really good cornerback. And I want to see a full year of Casey Hayward. I would have loved to have seen Jalen Ramsey and AJ Terrell. But anyway, Casey Hayward, AJ Terrell, line up on the outside. They both stay healthy, and let me see what a year of that looks like. And obviously, I'm desperately counting on the idea that our pass rush is better. It can't be any worse than the last 2 years. When you have 39 sacks over a 2-year period, it can't be all that much worse for everything, right? So I want to see these guys come together. Excuse me 1 second. Nope. Thought I was going to sneeze there for a minute. So I want to see these two guys play a full season together and see what it can be. But AJ is going to be a $20 million kind of player. That's the going rate. That's the marketplace for these guys now. And it's just the reality of for guys that are that level. I mean, look, there's no question. AJ Terrell would get himself a $20 million a year contract if he get himself on the open market. I mean, teams are overspending all the time. And all it takes is one team to, again, with the Deshaun Watson contract, all it takes is one team to screw up the whole system or do something, out of the box. Not that AJ Terrell is going to get, $100 million guaranteed or something like that, but he's going to be a $20 million a year player. And Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot made this a point to say, we need to sign our own guys. I don't have a problem paying AJ Terrell $20 million. He's a young stud cornerback. He's part of our long-term plans. He's part of the future of this organization. Maybe they'll get something done. I don't think that they'll get it done with like a Caleb McGarry type, which team-friendly deal. But it's going to cost you probably $20 million a year to have an AJ Terrell. All right, after you make Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen, make sure you make Locked On Sports Today your second listen. Biggest stories of the day, instant reaction, big game recaps, and the take of the day available Odyssey, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get all of your podcasts from.